Coming up next, Sitting at 30 takes you downtown for the weekly luncheon meeting of the City Club of Portland. Live weekly coverage of City Club is made possible in part by TCI and is produced through the facilities of Portland Cable Access. Now we join the City Club for this week's program.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the City Club of Portland. I'm Pete Heuser, your president. Today we're going to focus on youth with Tony Hopson, who's the director of Self-Enhancement, Inc. here of Portland. We just got a couple of announcements. Next week, Vancouver, BC City Councilman Gordon Price will speak on density of cities in the 21st century. Now, next week, you're going to need to make your reservation by Wednesday at 2 p.m. instead of Thursday at 2 p.m. And actually, that'll be true for all of our future programs. It turns out that the MAC Club needs more notice, so keep that in mind. Reserve for next week by Wednesday at 2 p.m. The Business and Technology Issue Committee will sponsor a science breakfast on June 25th on the technology being used to improve Oregon's wine industry. So call the club for details and to make your reservation. Our board host today is Susan Descamp. As you know, Susan is an aide to Charlie Hales of the City Council. She'll be asking our first question. When Susan is done, or actually before she's done, you want to line up at the mic to ask your question, City Club members only. Our program today is made possible in part due to the corporate contributions by U.S. Bank, Legacy Health Systems, and the law firm of Miller, Nash, Uyghur, Hager, and Carlson. We're certainly very grateful for their support. Tony Hopson is originally from Portland, having graduated from Jefferson High School and Willamette University. Along the way, he was recognized as an all-state basketball player and actually got a tryout with the Portland Trail Blazers. Well, as it turned out, Tony got cut from the Trail Blazers, but the youth of Portland are far better off as a result of that. He formed his own team, Self-Enhancement, Inc. in 1981. Now, what started out as a one-week summer camp committed to improving collegiate and employment opportunities for at-risk students. SEI now serves more than 700 students per year with activities that range from summer camps and after-school programs to violence prevention projects and monthly events and outings. SEI received the Oregon Award for Public Service and was designated as one of the 1,000 points of light by President George Bush. One of the issues President Clinton is going to be speaking about this weekend as he passes through Oregon is youth violence. But Tony Hopson has been involved in this issue for more than 20 years. He chaired the Northeast Rescue Plan Action Committee and the Youth Empowerment and Employment Coalition. He's a member of the Regional Drug Initiative Task Force, Portland Public Schools Foundation Board, and is a trustee for Willamette University. Tony will talk today about what we can do to foster violence prevention and to support education among our youth. Pay me now or pay me later is a phrase he has used. Let's hear him explain what he means by that. Please join me in welcoming Tony Hopson.
Thanks a lot, Peter. Being a native son of Portland, I'm very pleased to have the opportunity, not only as a native son, but running a program that is born of Portland, to have the opportunity to be here at City Club and share a few words with everyone. Pay me now or pay me later. Hopefully you will understand that concept as I go through my comments. But before I get in that, let me also at this point give a real thank you to the SEI staff. I think when I get an opportunity to speak like this, I always like to pay homage to the folks who are on the front lines doing the hard work every day that really get the job done, and I get a chance to come here and speak and kind of get some of the limelight, but it is truly the SEI staff on the front line that really makes the difference. And would also want to say thank you to the many folks throughout the community that have done wonderful things for Self-Enhancement, Inc. I mean, who we are today is a direct result of a lot of people who've come together that see what we do and recognize that it makes a difference and have joined that team. And lastly, let me say a thank you to all of the young people, the kids and families who actually are the ones who do the work. You know, we get the credit for turning lives around, but those lives that get turned around had to look in the mirror and decide that they wanted to turn their own lives around. So I say thank you to them as well. What I'm going to talk about, the issues and challenges that face us around violence prevention, what the experts say works out there, and also finish up talking about the SEI model and what we're doing to deal with that particular question. Some of the questions that we can put on the side that you can think about is, do we teach or do we instruct? And I got some strong opinions about that for teachers, because I think if you teach, that denotes that someone learned. If you instruct, it doesn't necessarily mean that anyone learned anything. So I think teaching is a little bit different than instructing. Do we educate or incarcerate? A lot of conversations out there about the two of those, and you know, what are we going to do? Do we want to continue to put folks in jail, or do we want to educate young people? Do we provide hope or foster hopelessness? A lot of young people wonder when they look at us as adults as to whether or not we're trying to give them hope or just the opposite. Do we have a youth problem in America, or do we have an adult problem in America? That's the question I continue to ask adults, because personally I don't think that we have a youth problem in America. We have an adult problem in America. And if adults would do the things that they need to do, then the kids would follow suit. I don't know many kids who come out of the womb knowing how to be involved in the kind of violent activity that they end up dealing with. But some of the examples that our young people see, whether we want to talk about TV or music or media or what have you, there's a lot of negative things to see that adults are in control of. So we need to look at that as a potential answer. Some quotes that I'd like to throw out real quick. Marion Wright Edelman, President, Children's Defense Fund, believes that the increase of juvenile crime can be traced to easy availability of guns. Samela Abdullah, President-elect, Association for Black Psychologists. Society has a fascination with violence, which might explain why children commit murder. Dr. Velma LaPont, Howard University Professor, School of Education, says that the epidemic of murder among juveniles is not a black issue or a white issue. Dr. Deborah Prothrow-Stiff, Harvard University School of Public Health, says the recent killings among children are not isolated incidents. Suzanne Trapeze Sims, chairperson, Meharry Medical College, Department of Pediatrics, says a study of violence in families might explain the current epidemic of murder among children. And I took some information from one of our recent Oregonian articles, and I see this woman's name on the future list for speaking here at City Club, Stephanie Kuntz, author of the book, The Way We Really Are. She said that teens suffer not so much from less time with parents, but from a loss of contact with adults outside the home. Some quick national stats for you. Homicide in the nation, third leading cause of death for elementary and middle school children, according to a 1994 report conducted by Children's Defense Fund. A gun takes the life of a child every 92 minutes, the equivalent of a classroom full of children every 2 days, according to recent statistics cited by Children's Defense Fund. In 1995, there were 5,285 youngsters killed by firearms. Also, 1 out of every 2 children murdered in America is a black child, even though black children make up only 15% of the juvenile population. Children's Defense Fund also found that nearly 50,000 children and teenagers were killed by guns from 1979 through 1991, roughly equal to the murder, or to the number of battle casualties in the Vietnam War. Some more stats real quick. Every 30 seconds, a black student drops out of school. Every 10 minutes, a black male is arrested. Every 70 minutes, a black male is murdered. We want to look at this from an international perspective in crime. Lockups by country per 100,000 population, the number of individuals that would be locked up. In Japan, they lock up 36 per 100,000. In Mexico, 97. Canada, 116. South Africa, 368. United States, 519. That's kind of amazing when you think about what was going on in South Africa, that we lock up more people than what they were doing through apartheid. Some other stats dealing with money. This comes from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, SAMHSA. 11.4 million Americans use illicit drugs. 10 million are problem drinkers. Medical care, indirect costs through A&D and mental health, mental illness, $314 billion a year. 1/3 of all criminal justice costs relate to drugs and alcohol and mental illness. 50% of all homicides, 30% of all suicides, and 30% of all accidental deaths are associated with drugs and alcohol. Some other quick points for those folks who are looking at ways to deal with this. We know that most juvenile crime is committed between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m., which highlights the importance of having more adult mentors and after-school safe havens. We know that better educated youth are less likely to commit violent crimes, which stresses the need for better school and more talented teachers. Violence is also about power. It is a means of establishing yourself in a society where you feel powerless. Some information out of our own Oregonian. It says that mentor programs, community, sports, and activity organizations, anything that connects teens with adults will help reduce your anger and violence. Another article through the Oregonian, when adolescents live in a world without adults, they turn to one another for community. Some find uplifting peers who steer them up positive paths, and others choose friends who pull them down into an anti-social backwaters. We had the opportunity to be a part of a grant that we got from the Center for Disease Control, and actually Roy Gabriel is here who did the research on that from RMC Research. And I won't go into all of that, and I'll talk a little bit about it later in the evaluation side, but they are listed several things that some of the promising programs did, and I'll just throw out a few of these that some of the promising approaches. These are things that were part of their programs. Home visits, parental education and training, adult education, parent involvement, preschool education, outreach methods targeting high-risk youth and their parents, role-playing and other interaction activities, problem-solving games and meetings, field trips, recreational activities, skill building and conflict resolution, media advertising campaigns, mentoring, student mediation, community service, community collaborations, physical neighborhood improvements, tutoring, employment opportunities and training, and career and educational counseling. I say that to set up what I really want to talk about, which is really SEI and what we do, because most of the things that I just read and most of the comments that I've heard, we do all of those things in one form or another. From a historical standpoint, I think Peter gave you a little bit about where SEI started. I'll just give you one quick story from a historical standpoint with regards to SEI. We did start back in 1981 as a one-week basketball camp, and it certainly has mushroomed into a lot more than that today. But one of the main things that happened that kind of pushed us in a positive direction happened with the first drive-by shooting. The person that was killed in that first drive-by shooting had been in one of those SEI camps. One of the individuals in the car that did the shooting had also been in one of the SEI camps. We were running a program out at Columbia Villa, a very positive and successful program. The individual who was murdered in the first drive-by shooting, we sat him down. In fact, I sat him down 2 weeks before that murder and asked him to participate in our program as a camp counselor. At the time, he was in the Columbia Villa Crips. He was a gang member and selling drugs. We tried to give him an avenue out. Obviously, whatever I had to say to him that day did not work. I can remember it like it was yesterday. Nice sunny day, 80 degrees, sitting right out front University Park. He decided that the money that he was making, selling drugs and being in the gang, was better than being a part of what we were asking him to do. So, another kid coming out of a store on Northeast Deacon, car comes by, some of his friends in the car say, man, come on, we finna go have some fun. He gets in the car. In the car, they're drinking Old English 800 and smoking marijuana. Okay, once you put those two together, you know, you're not as sane as you might otherwise be. These individuals in the car are bloods. After they're drinking and now full of drugs as well, they ride out to Columbia Villa and decide to spray the court with gunfire. They shoot the other individual in the head, and we have our first drive-by shooting. Up until that point, this city did not believe we had a gang problem. They continued to tell us that. After that, we were searching for something to do, and SCI was one of the things that grew as a direct result of some of that violent activity. We received a grant from the city at that point to turn what was then a summer program into a full year-round effort, and we were off and rolling. Also, I would say, the kid that got in the car had been very successful. He had gone through our summer program, was a student at Grant, played on the state basketball championship with Terrell Brandon, who's now in the NBA. Grant won the championship that summer, or that year. This is the next summer. This kid would have come back and would have been, no doubt, a Division I athlete. I mean, who knows where that kid could have been had he not made that decision. This was not a bad kid, but it was a kid who made a bad decision, like many kids do. SEI, mission statement, Self-Enhancement, Inc. is dedicated to helping inner city youth realize their full potential. Working with schools, families, and community organizations, SEI provides opportunities for personal and academic success, bringing hope to individual young people and enhancing the quality of community life. Who we service, first of all, let's go into the schools, Jefferson, Grant, and Benson. Middle schools, Whitaker, Ockley Green, and Tubman. Our elementary schools, Boyce Elliott, Humboldt, Woodlawn, Vernon, Applegate schools. 90% of the young people that we service at this point are African American through our in-school services. 5% European, 3% Latino, 2% other. We're actually seeing 1,200 kids a year. We gave you some bad stats. It's up from the 700. That's what we used to service. We now see 1,200 young people a year. 3 different levels of kids that we service in SCI. 10% of the kids are what we call leadership kids. Kids who are doing quite well in school, coming from very functional families, 3-point plus GPA, serve as role models for other kids. 30% of the young people that we service are what we call the intensive kids, gang affected, drug affected, very negative behavior in school. These young people would drop out of school without the intervention of SCI in their worlds. 60% of the kids that we service are what we call the greatest impact group. For my money, from my experience, this is the most underserved group of kids in America, the impact group. They're in the middle. They ride the fence. They're not the best and they're not the worst. They kind of ride the fence. No one really pays attention to them. And when I was reading the article on Oregonian about what happened in Springfield, guess what? They said he was an impact kid. You know, not a bad kid running around causing a whole lot of trouble, just kind of walking the fence in the middle, minding their own business. No one pays attention to a lot of those kids. Those are the kids that I think we have an opportunity to impact their lives more so than the other 2 groups. Our leadership kids most often are going to be that without us. I mean, without a lot of extra support, they're going to get it done. The kids at the other level, I would never say we don't want to throw away those kids, because many of those kids can be saved as well, and we need dollars and we need to support them. But it's that group in the middle that I think we can have the greatest impact on their lives. Some of the in-school services, and there are many, include individual and group counseling, academic support, mentoring activities, incentives, do computer classes, community involvement, recreation, just a number of things. But one of the keys that we do at SCI is that we case manage all of the young people who come into our program, and we develop for them what we call an ISP, individual success plan, for every single kid. I'm often asked, how is SCI different than Boys and Girls Club or YMCA or some of those places? That's part of what's different. we case manage the kids who come into our program. And secondly, if you got a 1.3 GPA and you're a great basketball player, can't walk into the SEI Center and play basketball. You have to go to tutorial and work on your homework and those kinds of things first and foremost, because we believe that academics is the shortest line to self-esteem. If a student is doing well academically, they tend to feel a little bit better about themselves. There's actually 6 overriding areas in SEI that we talk about: self-esteem and social development, career and special talent development, academic enrichment, cultural development, health and athletic development, and community and family involvement. One of the biggest parts of our program is in the summer, and we just have been planning that, and we'll start that shortly. But in our summer program, we run a full 6-week summer program that starts at 8 in the morning and goes till 5 o'clock in the afternoon every single day for elementary, middle, and high school students. And there's a lot of academic work, and there's a lot of debate out there about what kids lose in the summer. So to kind of fight that, we provide English, math, and reading within our program for all of the students who come to SEI. So the morning part of our program is very academically oriented. The afternoon part of our program, then we get into art education and recreation. We do some community involvement. We do some career exploration and a variety of other things for our kids. So you can see that there's not much that kids can't get from the self-enhancement program. Some special programs that we do. We have a family enhancement program that provides direct services to African American families that are at risk of losing their children to foster care. In Multnomah County, 6%, the population for African Americans is 6%, but we're 36% of foster care, so that's a real issue. We have another special program called Pamplin Fellows. In fact, since all the other programs out there are trying to take credit for this, I think SEI needs to throw its name in the hat on Alicia Moreland, who's our Queen of Rosaria, is a Jefferson student and is also a Pamplin Fellow and has been with us for several years. So I think the one thing that I would say about her, when you hear that old adage, or that adage that it takes a village to raise a child, Alicia Moreland is the best example of that. There is a number of folks and programs that have had their hands into Alicia Moreland, supporting her and giving her everything that she has needed, and based on a lot of people, because SEI can't take all the credit for that. We had our hand in it, the Dreamers had their hand in it, Saturday Cat, so many people, but you can see the result of what happens when a number of us are willing to come together around an individual child, and she's a huge success story. We have another program post-high school. See, we start with kids at age 8 in SEI, and we stay with them to age 25. In our post-high school program, we follow our kids on to college or into vocational training or into the job world to make sure that they continue to have the support that they need to be successful. And then we have adult programming. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but right now we're building adult programming in the Center for Self-Enhancement as well. I want to talk quickly about the Center for Self-Enhancement. 62,000 square foot facility. If you haven't been there, you need to come and visit. I guarantee you've never seen anything like this anywhere. And I keep saying that because I want somebody to say, no, there's a center like this in Chicago. Or, no one has said that to me yet. I mean, we have everything that a kid could ever want. 7 classrooms, library, computer lab, dance studio, cafeteria with a commercial kitchen, double gymnasium, locker rooms, weight rooms, an auditorium with a full movie house in it, a recording studio, health clinic, and our administrative office. Is just about everything that a kid would want they could find in the Center for Self-Enhancement. And the center is totally paid for. It was about a $10 million project. We owe nothing on the building, which is a huge accomplishment in itself. Let me talk specifically about what makes us different and some of the things that I think, if you're talking about working with kids, what you need to do. One, continuity of services. As I said, we start with kids at age 8. We stay with them to age 25. You cannot change the conditions of kids in America overnight. I mean, it's not through a summer program are you going to make the difference that you want to make. You need to come early and you need to stay late. Age 8 to 25 is a long time. But if you really want to impact a life to where they can impact others, then come to stay. And if you're not coming to stay, you don't need to be involved. So continuity is what we do in SEI. Unlike most programs out there, and not to bad talk any of the other programs out there, but if you're not willing to stay for the long haul, you're not going to have the long-term impact you want. comprehensiveness, in school, after school, and summer. Again, summer's not enough, school's not enough, 365 days a year, we need to be with kids. We need to be in their face, providing them with whatever they need to be successful. In SEI, we are very comprehensive. You won't find another program as comprehensive as we are, that are in the schools every day with those kids. After they get out of school, they come to the center, we're with them. In the summer, we develop the program so that they have a place to be and we can continue to do the positive things. Parent involvement. You know, how often I see programs who only service kids. How do you service a dysfunctional child and send them home to a dysfunctional family every night and never do anything with the family and expect that the kid is going to be saved? I don't know. I don't know. In SEI, it's called parent involvement. We service the families in the same way that we service the kids. If the family is in turmoil, then you must do something about the family if you want the kid to be able to go home and be in a functional situation, in a supportive situation. So whatever services are needed for the families, we do that as well. That's the holistic approach that is needed to turn a kid around, a family around. Fourthly, is the relationship model. What we say in the relationship model is that if we can build an individualized relationship with every child and family, then we can have a positive impact on them. Well, how are you going to do that? We think that you need to be able to do three things. You need to be able to be a parent, you need to be able to be a teacher, and you need to be able to be a mentor. And in any classroom in America, if a teacher's not prepared to do those three things, especially anywhere in America, because now we're seeing in rural America, they picking up guns and doing some pretty bad things, just like we've seen in the inner cities. You have to be able to do that. If a kid is not being parented at home, guess what? I mean, we're going to pay for it on the back end. So if I'm a teacher and I got this kid for 5 or 6 hours, I need to put that hat on when I can. So we teach all of our coordinators how to move in and out of all three of those roles because they are mandatory in America today because of what's not occurring in the families at home. Now, again, is that tough? Yeah. I mean, I've been a teacher. There's a few teachers in here. That is a tough job, and that's a hell of a demand to put on a teacher. But if we don't, we're all seeing some of the results of what will happen when we don't do that. So the relationship model is the lifeblood of SEI. And then there's a variety of incentives that we do on a high level. I mean, we give kids stuff for doing all kind of positive things, extra credit if they go to church, if they break up a fight, I mean, community involvement, but any number of things, and they get points for all of the wonderful things that they do, and then we provide them with a variety of incentives. Another piece that I think is very important, when we talk about servicing young people, we often talk about how to service them, and we talk about what we're going to do with them, but rarely do we talk about who's going to do it. And for my money, if you don't start with the who, you're not going to get the job done. We never talk, and I've been on advisory groups all across this nation, and I fight them every single time talking about the who. Because you can give me an excellent program with all of the right stuff. If the wrong who is running the program, it will not work. There's only certain kind of people who can do this work. And if they're not passionate, we don't want them. If they're not really willing to come early and stay late, they don't need to be in this business. If they don't believe that every kid on the planet Earth has the ability to learn, they don't need to be in this business. These things are very, very important. I mean, I just can't impress upon you how important this is. But we keep running around the country and finding wonderful programs, and we bring them in here and set them up and expect that they're going to work, and then we hire our best friend to run them, and the program doesn't work, and then we go back to the drawing board wondering what happened. Well, what happened is that you hired the wrong person. It's not your program, it's the people. We all know that in business and government and everything. It's people and it's relationships. That is the most important thing that I could say to you today, is that we need to come up with a strategy on how to understand what are the characteristics of the right people that do this work. That would make all of the difference in the world. Let me read to you our standards, and then I'll take some questions. There's some other stuff that I could go through here around here. Well, we'll say a couple things about the evaluation. But the standards are we have 6 standards that we teach all of our students, and these are the things that our kids live by. And they all have to memorize these things and spit them back at us when they're in the elementary school. And the middle school, they have to be able to memorize it and understand what it's about. And then at the high school level, we expect them to memorize and know what they're about and teach them to other people. Here's the sixth standard, well, the preamble for our standards. The SEI standards are founded upon the principles of integrity and respect. Integrity, because integrity exemplifies truthfulness, modesty, and trustworthiness. Respect, because respect exemplifies courtesy, honor, and reverence. Standard number 1, in SEI, we greet each other every day with a smile and a handshake to strengthen the relationship between us. Imagine if that was in Portland Public Schools and the teacher had to do that to every single child every time they walked in the door. Make a big difference. I mean, you couldn't hide when you walked through the door. Hey, how you doing? Give them a little hug or something. I mean, could turn the whole kid's day around. Could turn the teacher's day around too. Second one, in SEI, we honor and respect each other, and so we address one another with proper language and speech to get away from the name calling, the teasing, and all of those things. Third one, in SEI, we value the space of ourselves and others and are careful not to intrude or injure each other. 4, in SEI, we are mindful of what is true and strive to be honest in word and deed. 5, in SEI, we treasure our rich culture and we hold the cultures of all people in high regard. 6, in SEI, we strive to reflect our beauty both inwardly in our understanding and outwardly in our appearance. Those 6 standards we drive into our kids' heads, and if they lived those 6 standards and did them, they would be just fine. They would be fine not only with themselves, but they would treat other people with respect and courtesy, and it would be okay. Pay me now or pay me later just simply means this. Incarceration and jails is probably the #1 business in America right now, and they're growing at a rapid rate. If you talk to the governor, he'll tell you how much money he's spending on it. We can continue to do that, or we can pay in the front end when kids are young and when they have a chance, when we have a chance to teach them the things that they need to know to be successful. Pay me now means prevention. Do it early when you have a chance, before all the negativity has entered into their brain and they begin to do things that cost us. If we wait, we'll pay on the other end. But one way or another, none of us has an opportunity to do nothing. Because to do nothing, you're going to pay too. It'll just be on the back end when that kid is in the juvenile justice system. And I even had some stats on that I won't go into, but believe me, in SEI, it only costs $2,500 a year to service a kid. You send them to McLaren, it costs about $36,000 a year. We can save a whole lot of money if we're willing to do what we need to do in the front end. One point about evaluation, we have been evaluated thoroughly. Northwest Regional Lab did a very exhaustive evaluation, and through the Center for Disease Control, RMC Research has helped us with that, and we have an evaluation there. As it relates to violence, we got a grant. There were 12 groups that got grants across the nation. Our stats from our purview came back #1. We were able to decrease fighting from 54% down to 34%, and decrease weapon carrying from 31% down to 13%. This was a 4-year longitudinal study. I think that we're probably the only program in this entire state that has a longitudinal study that shows that being involved in our program decreases youth violence. So as we run around the country looking for the special program, sometimes I wonder, why come you just haven't come over to SEI? We're already doing it. We've already proven that it works, but yet we're not getting that phone call. So that's one part of evaluation. Last year we had 43 seniors, 35 of them went to college, 6 of them are working, 2 high school completion. This year we had 28 seniors, 22 of them are going to college, 1 working, 1 deciding, 4 in high school completion. I mean, I could go on and on and on. I mean, we have the stats. We can prove that what we do makes a difference. So this is not rocket science out here. There are some of us in this business that know what to do. We just need to have the resources and the teammates to get it done. I'll stop right there. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony, very much. A lot of statistics, but it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And as an old Portlander, I appreciate so much what SEI is accomplishing. I do want to reiterate Tony's invitation. I have been to SEI and under construction. He didn't mention, and it's a wonderful partnership with the City of Portland. It's built in a park, a small but highly, prior to SEI's existence, unused park. It was totally run by the gangs, and nobody would go there. Now it's a vital hub of activity. The building is architecturally incredible. It is so beautiful, and since the city is involved in building 2 new community centers right now, I can't tell you what respect I have for the design and how much you got, how much for your $10 million. They really got a lot. My question, however, is specifically about the school situation, Portland Public Schools, and what a struggle we've been dealing with in financing. And I want to know how and where and what SEI's involvement is in the reconstitution of Jefferson and Humboldt.
I think in terms of the reconstitution, I think we've only peripherally been involved with the actual reconstitution. I've had conversations with principals at both those schools. It's kind of interesting at Humboldt, and we had been in that school for a long time, and when the new principal came under the reconstitution, she was looking to kind of clean house, obviously because all the spotlight is on her. And she was going to kind of kick SEI out of that building until she looked at our test scores and found that the young people that were in the self-enhancement program were at the mean or above in her particular school, which let her understand that perhaps this is a program that I need to keep in my particular building. In the Jefferson situation, I've been very involved in some of what's been going on there in terms of behind the scenes having certain kinds of conversations. I think, again, in that particular regard, SEI is in the business of retention. First and foremost, if we can keep a kid in school, then we've actually done what we get paid to do. We don't actually get paid to have kids pass the SIM or the CAM or do any of that. Actually, we all pay the Portland Public Schools to do that, but we've been trying to help out with that as well. I would say if SEI was not in Jefferson, it would be in a little bit worse condition than it presently in. I think 50% of our kids at Jefferson are at a 3-point or above GPA. So most of the work that we've done has been specifically with the kids in those particular schools, but we continue to support it and believe that Jefferson has obviously a tough road to hoe ahead of them, but we're going to be there, and where I think we can provide the most help is with the parent involvement to get that community more involved in both Humboldt and Jefferson.
Hi, I'm Dennis Doherty. I'm with JVMK. I am a City Club member, and I'm also an alcoholic and addict, and was assisted in my whatever successes I've had by programs like yours. Which brings me to my question is, when you have young people come into your program, is there an assessment process, or how do you treat them if they are young and addicted to alcohol or drugs or any of that?
Up until, well, still right now, what we've been doing is just referring those young people. We don't have an active treatment or drug and alcohol program. For the most part, we've dealt with drug and alcohol from a preventative standpoint. However, we are in a relationship right now with Tualatin Valley, who is a part of Mainstream. Actually, they've kind of merged. So we're in a collaboration with Mainstream to take it a step further and to actually teach our staff how to better assess kids and then actually get them help. And we will be doing some of that on the site. So I think we're ready to go that next step, because what I did not talk about, and I don't like throwing negative stuff out about SEI, but I always tend to tell the whole truth. When we went through CDC, all the positive things that we did around the violence prevention, the negative part that came out is that we had a decreased use or an increased use in marijuana. So that really alarmed us. So now we're trying to find ways to combat that, because that's a growing concern that we have.
Would you, this is Bill Savage, I'm a City Club member, and wonder if you would comment on your thoughts on gun control.
Well, I agree with a lot of the thought out there that obviously there's too many guns and it's too easy to get them. I mean, I can remember taking a gun off of a kid in the early days of SEI, and why was he carrying a gun? Because he heard that some boys was going to come to the school to get him, so he had it for protection. And we had to take the gun off of the kid. I think that we obviously need stronger laws around gun control. I mean, I don't see any way around that. It's just unfortunate that so many young people have to die for us to get the message, and I just wonder how many more have to die before we recognize the fact that something needs to be done about that. So I'd have to raise my hand and say I'm for stronger laws around guns, and for sure keeping them away from our young people. Right now, access, believe me, is very, very easy. Any kid that wants a gun in any school, and let me say in any school, I'm not talking about inner city Jefferson. We can go to Lincoln or Wilson, we can go to West Sylvan, we can go to Alameda. Any kid who really wants a gun can get a gun. It's not that tough.
Hi, I'm Gil Johnson, City Club member, and I'm also a martial arts teacher. And so on a considerably smaller level, I do some of the things that you do, and it's not my primary business, but I deal with a lot of the that 60% impact kids a lot, and as well as everybody across the range of kids. I get a lot of parents who come in and dump their kids off and say, do something about this kid, you know, he doesn't mind, he's getting in trouble, he's not doing his schoolwork, he's da-da-da-da-da, you know, and we do. You know, anything that gives a kid some positive, you know, confidence-building material works, and Taekwondo does that. I have found, and this is my question, that involving the parents really helps. You know, when I can get the parent to do Taekwondo also, it really helps. But you know, most of those parents would rather, they say they're too old or they have don't have enough time and all that. You mentioned that you have family involvement, and I'd like you to expand on that. How do you get them off the couch or out of the bar? You know, how do you get them into this, and what do you do? I mean, what do these parents do? Do they have activities and other things like that they do, or do they do them with kids, or what?
In many ways, and not to demean us as adults, but many of us need the same things that the kids need. So we try to inspire them in the same way. We have a point system for our adults as well. They can get incentives to be involved in the program, and you know, they can get a weekend at the beach or any number of things. I mean, and when we do our awards, we bring the adults in and give them awards as well. We have an expectation that parents will be involved in our program in the same way that we have an expectation that the kids will be involved. Sometimes one of the two excuses that our parents use most often, and we've tried to make those excuses go away, is one, I have no one to keep my kids, and two, I have no transportation. Well, we will go pick them up, we will bring their kids to the center, and we have a child watch area, and they can drop their kids off in the child watch while they're involved in the activities that we want them involved in. So they basically don't have any excuse. I mean, any excuse that they give us, we will go to work to try to alleviate that excuse. But the most important thing I can say is that all of this is based on a relationship. Once our parent coordinators build relationships with parents, they tend to want to be there based on a relationship. And that's okay if that's what gets them there first. But after they're there, then they're involved in all the numerous activities that we have to offer.
Hi, my name is Jacqueline Mandel, and I really want to thank you. I think all that you're doing is fabulous.
Thank you.
And my question is something that I didn't understand when you said, why aren't people calling you? And so maybe I could understand a little bit, maybe we all could understand a little bit, is that who could call you and what could they call you about? And perhaps there's other organizations or government members or somebody who could take even better advantage of your programs and contribute more, and maybe you could let us know all that information.
Okay. Thank you. Well, you know, sometimes you have to be careful what you hope for, and I would hate to be sieged with all kinds of calls and dollars and then not have the ability to go out there and do the work. But what I'm saying is that we have already proven that the model that SEI uses to work with kids works. So I'm saying, as we look at other communities out here who want to do something about violence prevention, want to be able to give kids more than what they're presently getting, I think that we have a model that needs to be looked at. So when the governor is talking about finding millions of dollars to do something on the prevention end, hello, you know, here we are, let's talk. You know, there's no reason to go and reinvent the wheel if we have something that's Portland, that is ours, that we've built. I mean, and so often we need to go to Chicago or New York or somewhere else to find something to feel like that it's worthy of our real dollars, and I'm saying that's not necessary. The present SEI, as much as a lot of people think that you know, we built the building and, you know, we get these huge grants, then it's all over. It's not all over. I mean, we have a $3.2 million budget just to keep the present SEI running, and that's very difficult to get that every year. I mean, Sue Walcott is here, our development director, and she does a hell of a job out there knocking on the doors, and I'm kind of her sidekick knocking with her. But that's an ongoing job, so we're always looking for additional teammates, whether you come to volunteer or whether you want to donate in whatever capacity. But I do believe that all of us can do something. If it's not for SCI, maybe it's on your own block. You know, if you don't have any kids and there's a kid on your block, I mean, get off the porch and say hello and see if there's something that you can say or do that can, you know, improve who that kid is or support them in one way or the other. So we're open for whatever folks can bring, but what I really meant by that is that we have a model that I think if the city is looking for something, if the state is looking for something, we have a model to offer. Thank you.
Thank you. I've seen your facility, and it's very, very nice.
Thank you.
My name is Nancy Rangela, and I'm a City Club member. My question is related to some more statistics. What is the ratio, the gender ratio that you serve at SEI? What is the ratio of your employees or teachers or your fellow associates to the number of people you're serving? And what is the maximum capacity that you can serve without building another SEI?
Gee. Okay. Stay there, because I might need you to repeat those, okay? Okay. The ratio gender-wise is really close to, I mean, we haven't done it in the last year, but it's close to 50-50 in terms of boys and girls. It started out 60-40, but basically it's about close to 50-50 in terms of the young women and the young men that we service. Your other question, I'm sorry.
The ratio of employees to the number of people you're serving.
Okay, we're servicing right now about 1,200 kids a year, and 200 of those kids are just in a summer camp program. So basically we're looking at about 1,000 kids that we're really servicing, and we have about 63 full-time staff that services that population. And your third question?
What's the capacity limitation?
We could probably comfortably service about 1,600 kids. We'll probably push that to 18, but real comfortably we could do 16. And the question is, what kind of level of service are you going to provide? See, and we pride ourselves on providing a qualitative service and case managing every kid. Now, if you're going to case manage 1,800 kids, you need a whole lot of money to do that, especially if you're going to case manage them, you know, less than 1 to 50. You know, and we have in certain scenarios in SCI it's 1 to 50, and others it's like 1 to 25. And I think 1 to 25 is really optimum. That's probably as high as you really want to go to do the kind of qualitative work that we try to do.
This kind of leads to my question. Stephen Schneider, City Club member. How are you going to grow in the future? What kind of next steps? Is it other schools, other school districts? Do you have a timeline? Where does this wonderful idea go?
Well, I think there's probably two things. One, I want to institutionalize SEI where it is first. I think the worst thing we could do is start running around the rest of the country or the rest of the state and not be able to garner the support to keep the SEI that's up and running good right now going. So we're going to need to institutionalize that one way or the other, and that might be by, you know, raising money for an endowment to make sure that the present program is still running. Beyond that, we're prepared to help other folks do what we do, whether that's in a school or in a city. I think we want to develop the model and package it so that other folks can do it wherever they are. It doesn't have to be called SEI. You can use the SEI model, and we certainly want credit for our model. But I think you have to tailor-make a program for a particular city or a particular school. But quickly, I think the standards that we have, any school could take our standards and make it a part of their school, and make sure that all the teachers learn the standards and all the kids learn the standards. That alone would change the interaction in a school, something that simple, and that's not that costly to do that. So our hope is to be able to expand our concept to other people and maybe train other people and hire us as consultants to come in and help you do what we've done. But we don't want little SEIs all over Oregon and all over the nation. I don't want that kind of responsibility. Yeah.
Hi, Tony Scott, Staff City Club member, Vice President Lewis and Clark College. I want to commend you and say that you're a treasure in this city. Really. And, and that of all the things that you said, the thing that really stands out to me is the fact that one person or a small group of people who are passionate and committed and believe in something can make a difference. That you're not wringing your hands, as many do, about a lack of resources, although you would like more of them. That if you know what you believe in, you're committed to them, your phrase of coming early and staying late, you can get it done. I think we would all benefit from going back to our respective jobs and communities with that inspiration. I want to ask you, coming from the perspective of one of the colleges in this city, what more we might do to assist you. And I wanted to point out to you that at Lewis and Clark, we started something in our law school a couple years ago, which is a summer camp for principally focused on African American high school age children, to really give them a sense that if they really get committed to the academic enterprise, they can aspire to become attorneys, professionals in the community, that it's a realistic goal. And I wonder whether we might team up with you in that program and ideas that you might have for others. We have a committed group of students and faculty and board members that I think that would really like to partner with you in some of these endeavors.
Well, I first of all appreciate your comments. We're open to those types of relationships. Obviously, a lot of students that are in our program have no one in their family that's ever gone to college. So getting them to think college at a very early age is very important. Getting them on a college campus so that they can see what that's like and recognize it as a part of their world and something that they need to aspire to is extremely important. So just having the conversations to be able to do the visits so that kids can get in there and see what's going on, exposing kids to the variety of what's available in college, and then getting some of the folks from college into our surroundings, because I think this is a two-way street. I mean, there's a lot of folks in colleges that, especially in a place like Portland, Oregon, that have never really been in contact with people of color in their community. I mean, you walk into our facility, again, we're servicing right now, 9% of our kids are African American. I mean, as a white person, you come in and you're instantly the minority. That's a new experience for a lot of people. And it's just a nice way to learn about each other. And our kids need to have access to folks who are doing positive things, irregardless of what color they are. So some kind of exchange, I think, would be good, and certainly with the law situation. I mean, we have some students that are aspiring to do that. And we're trying to build relationships with the schools in the area so that our kids have a shot at going. And we're not talking about just, doing a new affirmative action, but obviously if a kid has the skills and they're right there on the edge, if we got relationships with schools that can give them that opportunity, that's what we're looking to do. And then we're looking for those kids to come back and serve as examples for other kids in their community. And I would say we just hired some 70 folks to work in our summer program. About 50 of those kids will be past SEI students who have gone through the program, many of which are in college, who come back and serve as role models for our other kids. And to me, that's the circle that we're looking for, is for those kids to know that community involvement is paramount and they need to come back and represent.
Dan Goldie, member. In working 10 years with the Youth Conservation Corps of the state, we learned that one of the biggest contributors to the juvenile problem is school dropouts. Kids that don't stay drop out. And we also learned that the biggest contributing factor to dropouts from all, just not from one socioeconomic group, but across the spectrum, was the fact that the kids didn't see the relevance of school teaching to what they were going to do down the road or to their current life. What in your program do you do to deal with the relevance problem so that kids in school recognize the relevance of school teaching, learning to what they will do in their lifetime?
I think we attack that problem through the concept and the theme of our program, which is life has options. Many kids don't see the relevance because they don't recognize it as a real option for them, because their world is only this big. And we have to make their world this big. So we get our kids involved in any number of things to broaden their horizon so that they recognize that truly life has options. And if life has options, what do I need to do to improve my life chances? Education increases your options. We beat that concept in, no, we don't really beat them, but we do. We put that concept into our kids' heads that life has options, and that all of us have the ability to win, but you have to expose a kid to that. I often say the only difference between kids in inner Northeast Portland around our center and kids in Lake Oswego or West Sylvan is 1, environment, and 2, options. If I can put my kids in a safe environment and give them the same options as kids have in West Sylvan area, they will be equally as successful. But I have to be able to give them those options, and that's what we do through the center. I mean, we have kids who do all kinds of things that they would not be doing if they were not involved in the self-enhancement program.
John Leeper, City Club member. I too, sir, commend you for your efforts.
Thank you.
Early in your remarks, you spoke about and cited any number of experts' opinion. I wonder what your level of agreement is with those experts, in that I commend you for the innovation and breadth of your perspective, and I just wonder really what is your level of agreement with the experts, and what do you find actually works as a day-to-day operation? I find at times experts tend to get overly academic and divorce themselves from reality.
Okay. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that I cited, so I don't know which part of that you were talking about, but I do agree that sometimes the experts, I mean, you can look at this from a scientific standpoint, and I could grab Roy and have him run up here and talk to you about all of that, but we did kind of deal with it from the day-to-day. There's much of what I've heard from experts that I do agree with, but what I think works is the things that I talked about: building relationships, continuity, coming early and staying late. This is not hard, but you have to do it every day. You can't sneak in and say hello to a kid and pat him on the back and then go away for a month and expect that little Johnny was okay for a month. I mean, it's like raising your family. I mean, you need to be there. I mean, there's no question why the family is broken down or who's at home raising the kids. The TV is raising the kids. The music is raising the kids. So we get the kind of product that we get. So my answers to the problem are directly related to what we do in SEI. We come early and we stay late. Continuity of services, providing options for kids, having a comprehensive program, building the relationships with kids so that if they're in trouble, they will call you. I mean, kids need a place to call, not only when they've won, but when they've lost. They need to be able to know that they can call someone and someone will be there. All the SEI staff wear beepers. They can be called at any point in time, 24 hours a day. If a kid is in need, they can pick up the phone and call them, and we go to work. It's that kind of focus if you really want to win. If you don't want to win, you can do what we've been doing, and we'll continue to have the problems. I see a 2 fingers back there. Does that mean we have one more question?
Hi, it's Corleen Kraft with the City Club. Excuse my abysmal ignorance, but I don't know where your wonderful facility is, and I suspect that's true for a lot of people, so I would wonder if you would tell us that. Okay. Also, I'm wondering what your selection criteria are for the kids in your program and how many kids don't make it.
Okay. We're located on 3920 North Kirby. It's not too far from the Emmanuel Hospital or Red Cross area. The selection criteria, I talked about the 10%, the 60%, the 30%. That is the selection criteria for our school-based program. We have a center-based program of which there is no criteria. Any kid anywhere in the city could pay $40 and join our center-based programming and receive services there. Was there another part of that? Okay. Is that it?
I think we got it.
All right, thank
you. Well, we came early and we'd like to stay later, but I'm sorry we've got to cut it off. Thank you very much, Tony. We'll see you next week.